Hi, and welcome everyone. It's Varleigh at Lavender Sky Panther with you on Saturday, August 1st, 2026 at 7 p.m. Eastern this time. And hey, welcome Rita in the chat. I'm not sure why YouTube's giving me a little hassle every time I try to start lately, but whatever the case it is. So I got to do a hair adjustment here. It's going to be a little wet and drippy, but that's the way it's going to roll today. So pardon the mess. Anyway, tonight's topic, it's a fun one, actually. And if you looked at any of the posts in my post section along the week, as I discover things, I kind of drop them in there as I build up the show and take notes of, what might want to come through in the show today. So just to mark it, let me go ahead and put the title page up. We've got flying carpets and Vimanas. And we're going to get into what those things are. And we're going to get into what is lore or folklore and what is actually technology with some of these things, or potential technology with the flying carpet of ancient times and also in modern times. There's some programs out there. I'll say the acronym. I don't want to give it energy or power by saying the name. I'll spell it. So NASA has quite a few programs or initiatives or references to magic flying carpets. So we're going to look at that too. And, anything that they do, it's named with purpose. The words and letters and numbers, they all can have power charged up in them. And so it's not just happenstance with some of these names that they come up with. So I found it very curious and very interesting that there's a reference to flying carpets or magical carpets. So as we get into this, I do have a few slides. We're going to look at some images as I go along with making some of these references and things I just discovered. As always, feel free to hop in the chat, and if you have any thoughts about any of the things I talk about, or even if it's not related, we'll get to it at the end after I do my little decks and go through some of my points. But before I even get into all of that, I just want to say thank you for being here. I do mean that from my heart. And I just feel the good energy and the love when you guys are here. And whether you're here to just hang out, learn something new, expound on something, you got here by accident, or you've been here for a while and followed this channel for a long time, or if you're just brand spanking new, thank you for being here. Okay, so I think what we'll do is, if you looked in my post section, I did post the kind of somewhat cheesy, although, vocally very nice song from Disney's adaptation of a very loose adaptation of the Arabian Nights, or the Tales of the 1001 Arabian Nights or Nights. But anyway, the song that comes from that's made famous by Peabo, Brysin, and Regina, Belle, the vocalists, is A Whole New World. And if you look at those lyrics, I put a kind of little tongue-in-cheek joke in there in my post, but I also I do mean it. It's almost like an anthem if you're awakening, in the middle of an awakening, or just discovering you're in one. It's just kind of that would be the anthemic theme song for people awakening when you look at the lyrics. So I did like the one line that says, "A whole new world, 100,000 things to see." And there really are, once you wake up to the world and discover, wait, what? Our history isn't what we thought? What? There are ETs? What? You might be amidst a whole lot of questions, or coming back into some memories and recall of some of this stuff. So it's a fascinating time to be looking at and revisiting some things of the past. And that's, I think, why I've started just falling into doing some of these lives, is I just have these burning questions, or memories of questions that I have had ever since I was little. And whenever I take on a topic, it's like, okay, it starts with a question usually, and then let's explore it. So in this case, it's like, what about flying carpets? Somehow deep-seated in our memories, everyone has some kind of I don't know, I would venture to say most people kind of have a pull or something to the whole idea of the fantasy, the magic, the whole lore of a magic carpet or flying carpet. I think somewhere deep in our memory, we probably do recall back into other lives or parallel lives where we probably did have this tech. I'm jumping out of order here. I don't like to do that to myself. I have notes, but in Dolores Cannon's Convoluted Universe series, there's 4 books. I have 2 of them. I don't have the one I'm going to reference. But apparently in book 4, she has a client, and they're talking about flying carpets, and that was tech that was actually around in Atlanta times. That's a funny Freudian slip. Atlantean times, Atlantis times, let's just say. And that's probably why a lot of us kind of get a little bit of a feeling of, a flying carpet. And I would like to also follow up that with and why not? Because it's just referencing that somewhere in our memories, we know that it's true. There's got to be some kind of flying tech that's individualized for ourselves. And I'm going to show examples of this in history going back into 1350, early 1400s. And we're going to look at, as per usual, wherever I find the references, either in modern articles, pop culture movies, ancient texts, ancient paintings and sculptures. So again, it's going to be fun coming up. So before I get ahead of myself and too much out of order, because there's a lot of fun stuff to look at, I'm going to go to the etymology. I don't know if any of you have thought about it. I didn't really think about it until doing the show about the difference or where the origins of the word started for rug and carpet. Okay. Hopefully, if you're seeing this, you guys have, everyone's coming from all different walks of life and ages, that you have some familiarity with what a Persian rug is. And that's just one term used for it. Well, I'll use it loosely here on this show. But, rugs are made in Persia, meaning it can be Iran, Iraq. It can be the Caucasus Mountains, like I talked about in a previous show. And it can be from all other parts of the world, India, etc. So in this case, whenever I reference some of these rugs in particular, I'll probably be hanging around the Persian, sense of the rug. So anyway, I will just pull that up real quick. Oh, and also, if you could be so kind, if anyone's in the chat, if the the audio or the thing freezes up here, the show freezes up, just do kindly let me know. If it does and I don't hear from anybody, I'll just re-record the whole show over another time. All right, so let's look up the etymology of rug first. So just doing a quick internet search, it says that the word rug comes from the late Middle English, meaning before 1500, meaning a rough, shaggy fabric. It derives from Scandinavian roots like the Old Norse. I don't know how to pronounce that one, but it looks like kind of like rug. Shaggy tuft or tuft wool. And Proto-Germanic looks like, wow, it's an interesting word, but it looks like rau and is closely related to rough and rag. So it kind of goes down the line of how that kind of eventually evolves into like a mat or a covering. But that's supposedly the beginning origins of rug. And then we have the word carpet, because sometimes flying carpet is used interchangeably with a rug. And the word carpet traces back to Proto-Indo-European. And again, that root is what we looked at in the Caucasus Mountains on one of my previous lives. And that means to pluck, gather, or harvest. And then they're saying it comes also along via Latin, carpere, to card or pluck. And then it goes through Old French and Italian, carpita or carpete, meaning thick woolen cloth. And all of that is as we're coming into the 1200s. So anyway, have fun looking around there if you like to look at the ancient, words of how they formed and all of that. But for now, I'll just stop right there. So we've got like rug, tufts of it, a plucking, referring to how it's made, and all kinds of things. And that's where we get it. So now let's look at, what was I going to do? Okay. What we'll do is look at what is the oldest rug before we get into the magic properties or magical flying properties of it in lore. And maybe possibly there's some tech to it. We're going to talk about that too, real life tech to it. But the very first rug, hand knotted, that is, used on a loom with a little shuttle, thing flying through. And I put that in my post section if you're curious of learning more about how they are made. It's a fascinating process. The artisans, oh my goodness, they deserve all high praises when you look at how they are working a rug, and it can take a couple of years to finish, nice sized rug. Everything is hand knotted, scraped the excess. It's quite a process. But anyway, the first known hand knotted rug to exist in the world, the oldest one, is one that they call the Pazyryk Carpet. I think it's at the Hermitage Museum in Russia. And it's 2,500 years old, according to the historian's estimation. And I think they found it in some mountains in Serbia. And it was supposedly in a grave of some nobles where all the effects, of the noblemen at that time were buried. And so that includes armor or textile for the horse, this carpet and other things, objects and things were buried with the noblemen. And apparently this 2,500-year-old rug survives remarkably well because it was buried in the permafrost or below the permafrost, so it was frozen, essentially. And so this is a hand-knotted rug with remarkable detail. And I put a video of this in the post section if you're curious to see what that looks like. And I think I have a picture of it coming up too in the little slides I'm going to hold up. Now, what's interesting about that is they're not sure exactly where it was made, although there's some animals along the perimeter, very specific animals, with specific attributes, like a spotted deer, or, in a specific way. So they can kind of deduce to maybe where the region was, where these animals existed, but it's still a little bit up in the air. Even looking at the knotting technique and other kind of giveaways, I think they had some conjecture. I could be wrong, but I think they said it could have come from somewhere around Azerbaijan, or was it Uzbekistan? I can't remember now, but somewhere leading up toward the Caucasus Mountains. But anyway, so that's interesting. So I'm just using that as a little benchmark to establish that in the collective agreement here in the history, supposedly there is a 2,500-year-old hand-knitted rug of the rug type we're talking about when we get into flying carpets. Okay. So we're going to get into details too of what different rug types there are and the different motifs used, etc. So we have, looking back now, we're going to look at, okay, where's this origin story of flying carpets? Okay, so we have carpets, and back in the time of the one that I mentioned, the Pazyryk, I think that's how they say it, rug was discovered. It was known that when people died, they would wrap the deceased in the rug, and so that was one use, like when the person actually departed. But of course, we know so many uses for a rug. It was so versatile back in that time. It was used for warmth, obviously, as a bed. I mean, many different things, to roll up goods and things in. And there's some other stories that I want to really get into now, but look into that too if you're curious of these really ancient rugs. Now, so getting back to the flying part, so where does that come from? Well, it's intermixed, sure, in folklore or myths, some will say, but there's also, like I like to say, there's a particle or more of truth in every kind of story told, whether we're telling it ourselves or we go back in history. Usually these things just don't completely come out of, nonsense or nothing based in something tangible and real. And I think that's the case here too, because the origin story of this goes back to the telling of the Arabian Nights, or 1001 Nights. And I did want to read the origin of that here just off of the internet search, because it's kind of interesting. I never really knew the story. I didn't see the Disney version either. And so not reading the first origin story or watching some of these 50s movies that remade the story, I always like to go to the source, meaning, the original source, back to the texts. So in this case, it's saying, just in general internet search, take it or toss it. But it says the Arabian Nights, or 1001 Nights. The famous flying carpet appears in the story of Prince Ahmad and the fairy Peri Benu. In this tale, Prince Hussein, the eldest son of the Sultan of the Indies, travels to the Indian city of Besnagar and purchases a magic carpet that instantly transports anyone sitting on it to their desired destination in the twinkling of an eye. Key details of this original story. Now, wait, I'm going to interrupt myself for a minute and continue with this. There are several accounts. So this is just one of like a popular folklore coming from this part of the world. I'm going to get into two stories coming further back than this as the origin story of it, but other potential origin stories from which this story kind of morphed and changed a bit. So anyway, key details of the original story. This says that the Sultan's 3 sons all fall in love with the same princess, Nur al-Nihar. The king declares that whoever brings back the rarest and most extraordinary rarity may marry her. The purchase. Prince Hussein goes to the market in Besnagar, India, where a merchant offers him a seemingly ordinary carpet. And then it says the power, and let me go to this. The merchant explains that whoever sits on the rug and merely thinks of a destination is instantly carried there through the air, no matter how far away it is. Now I'm going to stop, because that to me sounds exactly like teleportation, done by supposedly advanced, ETs and advanced galactic tech, is that you just close your eyes, connect in, and it's not even ET tech, it's also a divine thing. Adepts, people like at the Jesus level, you just close your eyes, you walk through a wall, or not even close your eyes, you just walk on water, you just know you can do it, that physics don't apply. And the same thing here, you could just close your eyes, think of where you want to be, and show up. That's a real, actually, physical power, if you will, that spiritual masters and adepts can do. So that's kind of sounds like this to me, that you just sit there, close your eyes, and voila, you're wherever you want to go. Anyway, one more little tidbit here. It says the resolution. To prove its power, Hussein sits on the carpet, wishes to return home, and arrives back instantly. While the carpet does not feature in Aladdin's original text, popularized later by modern adaptations like Disney, this adventure of Prince Ahmad and his brothers cemented the magic carpet in Middle Eastern folklore. Now, a little add-on to that, from what I get from just kind of looking around at some of this stuff, there was not, I think in the original sources of this, there was no genie and no magic lamp involved, just as an aside. Okay. Then other stories kind of spun off and morphed from this, I think, when you get into like Alibaba and other stuff. But I'm not too versed in that, so I'll just leave it right there. Now, there are two other stories that I'm just going to gloss over here. Do it from memory. It's always a little iffy, but we'll do it anyway. Two other stories related to the magic carpet that go further back, a magic flying carpet. And they both pertain to King Solomon. So one of the accounts is that it's a huge carpet, massive green carpet, and that's why I show it, in here, the green tones. There's a massive silk carpet that Queen of Sheba gifts to supposedly her love interest, King Solomon. And it's a green silken carpet interwoven with gold, silver, and gems. And supposedly it can fit thousands of people, like an army of, I think they say 40,000 people can ride on this carpet. And they don't say that you sit on it or stand on it and close your eyes and instantly, think of your destination and you're there. They talk about it having remarkable speed. So they do give tangible physical properties to this thing. Like it did take a certain amount of time to go from one point to the other. And they even say that, and then the king could come back on it and still have time for lunch in a different city, So now, supposedly with this story, how it goes, again, it's a story, might have some real facts embedded in there here and there. So just go with if anything resonates with you as true or not. But then supposedly she gifts this rug. It's a, big thing. It gets over to King Solomon. And apparently he was so busy building in his city, building something. I forget what. I don't know if it was a pyramid, ziggurat, whatever. He was building something and supposedly couldn't be bothered, didn't have enough time, or was too concerned with this other project that he just kind of sloughed it off and just said, oh, you know what? I don't have time for this. Gift it to my advisor or, whoever was next in the line there. Just give it to them. And so supposedly word comes back to Queen of Sheba. And of course, she's feeling hurt. She's ticked off. And so she basically according to his tale, she banishes the makers of the carpets and the alchemist. They make it clear that and the alchemist who assisted them to put the magic into the carpet. She banishes these people, just doesn't want to see them anymore. So that's one account. Okay. Actually, there's three. I forgot. There's going to be another one not pertaining to King Solomon. So the other King Solomon story of this goes that he divinely receives this huge carpet from God direct. Okay. And this carpet can hold 40,000 of his troops, his army, whatever. But apparently King Solomon got so cocky, if we want to just make it street terms for it, they'll say his hubris got so big. Apparently he got so cocky that as a punishment from God or the gods, whoever gave it to him, there's turbulence or something and everybody falls off the carpet, all these 40,000. I don't know if they die, if they perish, or they just fall off. I didn't get to that detail. But anyway, so that's another story about it. Now there's even yet another story involving a Khan. I don't think it's Kublai Khan, but it's a Khan. And apparently the Khan comes in as a conquering figure to a city, and that's up for, discussion. So again, what do we know about any of these histories written? Usually the bad guy showing up into town might actually be the good guy made to look bad. I talk about at length, the Pergamon Museum and the friezes and sculptures along the walls in the museum of this altar to Zeus. and it's the Battle of the Giants, where we have the Olympian gods are fighting and striking down the giants, who are Gaia, or Earth's children. And they're up on horses and robed and look wonderful. And then the giants are down below groveling and have like snake legs. And so usually it's the good guys are the ones that are punished, and vice versa. But anyway, the history is always not so clear, I think. So in this case, whether Khan or that Khan lineage was good or bad, I don't know. But let's just go for face value of the story. So in this story, the Khan is the conquering Khan, takes over the city. I can't remember which one, but somewhere where they have the Persian rugs. And he takes it over, and somebody boasts that, the rugs are even more magnificent and can travel so much better than even horses. And supposedly the Khan was very much, Khan and his clan was very much about the horse culture, and got, offended. And already you can see I don't buy the story. But anyway, apparently got so offended that he ordered all of the burning of any magic carpet, any flying carpet, burn them all, except save one of them, one of the more magnificent ones he wanted kept, so that would be his burial rug, to wrap him up in it and bury him in it. So anyway, I just, thought it interesting looking around at some of these stories. I never knew much past it's just a flying carpet. So there you go. Now let's look at some of the slides that I have and talk about a few more things. And I'll be looking probably down a lot today at some of my notes, because there's just so many little tidbits here. And I don't know if I mentioned that original story of finding that 2,500-year-old carpet buried under the permafrost, totally frozen. I think that was Scythian peoples, and I've mentioned them in previous lives when we're looking at some of this history stuff. Now, back to that Khan story about he wanted a flying carpet saved to wrap him in. I came across one. I'm going to be showing you a lot. So I'm doing it more like really small size, just to kind of save printing, because when I was doing things bigger, I was burning through a lot of ink. But anyway, here, when I was telling you the Khan story, it reminded me that they might have saved a carpet like this. This is at the Victoria and Albert Museum in England. And if you look up in the post section, I post it. What I find very interesting about this is they're taking great care to preserve this thing. Take a look at that. But when I, read that Khan story, I thought, wow, it could be a rug like this as a flying carpet, because this even has that medallion, as we've talked about in a previous live I've had, with 16 petals. And that's what I referred to with those Sumerian, Assyrian friezes, where they have all those guys with they call it the bags and the watches. They're wearing a medallion like that with 16 petals. It's very specific. It's not 12, it's not 8, it's not 10. And I also further talked about that in a previous live, that's actually today's emblem is a 16-petaled chrysanthemum as part of the imperial throne and ascending the chrysanthemum throne. So I think that's kind of a symbol of royalty. But also, look, you can see behind me too, there's kind of this pattern on this mandala. But it's also a pattern in some of the churches, in the rose windows. Like in Notre Dame or Chartres Cathedral in France. And there's a lot of videos out there of how that also might relate to circuit board or some type of electrical or electromagnetic energy. So that's going to be a side topic from there. But anyway, when I heard of that Khan story, it just reminded me of that one rug in the Victoria and Albert Museum. So we'll go back to some of the basics of Persian rugs before we go deeper. We've got several different motifs or styles, and this is just going to be looking at the Persian rug variety. And sorry, let me align with my notes here, and I don't want to forget anything. Okay, yeah. So we're going to get into different pattern types. I'll just read them off here now because it gets small print, but I'll hold them up. There's Harati, Bote, Minakani, Tree of Life, Floral, and Geometric. So let's start the right way here. So it's this one. Okay, so I'm just going to hold it up close and you can read it. So Harati, and then, you can check these out on your own too, if any interest you. But those are some main types. Got the Tree of Life. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure this stays on screen. Tree of Life there, Floral, and Geometric. And we're going to get into some of the maybe Geometric and the Tree of Life. There's some interesting things there as we get into the co-topic of the show about Vimanas. And Vimanas are flying machines that supposedly date back to over 4,000 years ago. And a couple of key Indian Hindu and Sanskrit texts. So we'll get there. It's not yet coming up on my order here. But anyway, I wanted to point out that this one on the Tree of Life, that gets really interesting because some people talk about secret things encoded in the stitching or in the patterns of some of these rugs that are giving, hints and clues to our true past. And actually, that Tree of Life is interesting. Yes, it can be like an evergreen. Here to there commented in one of the earlier posts that it looks kind of like a Christmas tree, and it does. And it also, if you look at the little the outline of it, it's got those little prongs sticking out. And to me, that's also a little bit of a reminder of Antiquitech, if you're into that, on the Tartarian buildings and the cathedrals, all of the very intricate sculptural works along the roof line. I have to show an example. Things like that at the tops of some of these cathedrals. People call them, I think, lion's foot and whatnot. But if you look at this one I'm sorry. This is always reversed. It screws me up. This piece right here reminds me of the tree that I just showed you. So anyway, it reminds me that could be a potential link to showing some of those energetic properties that could be code for what's coming up next and what I'm talking about with Vimanas, but also might have something to do with the energetic capturing ether power and maybe substantiating that there was some kind of tech employed with a real life flying carpet. And there's other reasons why I'm going to get into to talk about how there could be real tech with some of this lore on flying carpets. Okay, so anyway, let's get into a few other things. Actually, I'm just going to run across here. So if you look at the second row, okay, we talked about this one. Let me go over here. Sorry about that. This is just going to show you some of the stitching techniques. And again, I'm going to refer you to look at the post section on my channel for how exactly they tie the knots when they're doing these weaving of these rugs. Here is from somebody else's. I posted this in my post section. Somebody did a nice short video on how, hey, did you ever think about that in these rugs, there could be different encoded like blueprints for flying machines and things. So that's what that's representing. Then look at here. Somebody else on a metaphysical level is showing this Tree of Life. And it's showing the body as if we are a woven tapestry within when you look at the structure of our DNA and capabilities of wheels like chakras activating, and that we supposedly have the power within us when we're fully aligned divinely, that we can just come into our inherent powers. We can just walk through a wall. We can fly, like I think I mentioned earlier. I'm not sure if I did actually. Hold on. I'm going to pull up a book that if you are an adept, like a spiritual master, they talk about it here in the Baird T. Spalding's Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East, that you don't need a carpet, you don't need anything. You can hover, you can levitate, you can just fly. And in this book, spoiler alert, they do talk about someone being able to literally just fly, ascend, with this, connecting in with this light body, knowing how it works, the mechanic of it, those blue things, to just connect in and then even fly above the clouds, meet with Jesus, and come back down to the temple. The way they describe it really well in here. So I do recommend, there's a series of that thickness of book. There's about 6 of them. The first 2 I find really interesting, so I recommend that. But anyway, we know on some level, a lot of us have dreams of flying when we're little. It just seems very natural. And even when we're older, some people have dreams of flying. Now, that might be that you're actually astral traveling in your dreams, but it's also a memory that, hey, we knew how to do this before we got to this earth plane or this earth place, right? This earth realm. So anyway, that's just, depicting this. But I thought it was interesting that the Tree of Life that they're referring to, it does harken back to this Tree of Life encoded in this carpet. Now, there are other patterns. Sorry, I'm backwards. Patterns and symbols in some of these rugs. This is a little swatch of a really old rug. And I don't think this one is 2,500 years back, but probably somewhere in there. But look at this. We even have very cosmological, astrological looking symbolisms and, sacred geometries. And again, we do know that there's something to that tied into the rose windows, tied into electromagnetic fields and everything else. Now here on the bottom row, we have, this is just coming from a storybook, some of the lore of the flying carpet. There's other stories where I think there's a group, 3 groups or more of an army that comes in on flying carpets and attacks something. I guess that's in the Arabian Nights. I have not read the Arabian Nights. Now here we go, on that Tree of Life theme. This is a excerpt of a carpet, and then I'm showing you ahead of time a preview of a Vimana. We're going to get into that on the next sheet coming up. But again, a Vimana is supposedly flying tech, think UFO, but, machined, much like actually the Germans at wartime, the Nazis. I don't want to say it, I don't want to give it power, but, they were exploring and supposedly found and manufactured the Glocken, which is a bell-shaped anti-gravitational device, that looks like that. I don't know about the inner workings. But anyway, I'm going to get into where this comes from and why they're showing that, okay? But for now, I just wanted to show side by side that whoever was talking about maybe we have some secrets encoded in the carpets. I mean, I don't know about you, but this sure does have something that relates just in my mind. Okay, now, there's also, oops, I keep going the wrong way. Sorry, guys. There's also, in recorded history in Ethiopia, in the Kebra Nagast, that some say that there is reference to flying carpets. Looks like there's one here. I don't know if he's using it as a kite or if it's a true flying carpet or what, but that's just kind of interesting. And then there's something here showing another flying vehicle. Maybe it was something like this, where it had a balloon on the top. Maybe the sides look like an oriental carpet, right? But because of some of the other tellings talk about basically instant teleportation things, I think there's a little more to it than that. Okay, now let's look further. Oh, keep this one in mind. Keep this one carpet in mind, this one here, because now I'm going to combine this with something else this reminded me of as I was going through things. And on my previous show, this is the photograph that I took that was backlit by lightning in 2021. This is an engraving from Nuremberg, Germany, from about 1561. Looks like a craft battle ahead. And so when I saw this, Tree of Life rug here, it just really brought me right to here, which brought me right to here. So I just thought I would show that for fun. And I do cover this extensively on my channel, this finding of this incredible UFO. So anyway, just again, this little reminder, maybe there's something to things being coded in these rugs. Maybe not. Okay. Let me just see. Okay, and then when we talk about, let me go back a step. When we talk about the stitching and secret stitching, right, that whole concept, here's that stitching. I did post in, sorry about that. I did post in my post section a couple of shorts videos taken from National Treasure, the movie 2, Book of Secrets, I think it's called, something like that. And in that movie, there's a joke. They're mocking the idea of one of the archaeologists' dad. He's, was so concerned about packing rugs in on a trip that his wife was complaining that there's no room and he forgot her makeup case or whatever. And anyway, she's like, oh, but you forgot it because you were so concerned about bringing all those rugs that you said had secret stitching in it and code. And so, they're mocking that, the idea of secret stitching. And whenever things are mocked, as we know, kind of in these mainstream movies by these secret society types, it tends to be that thing that they are mocking is true, just saying. So I put that clip in there because as I was researching this and looking at things about maybe encoded stitching and this, that scene came to mind. Now, that coincidentally, that movie was also put out by Disney. But anyway, go ahead and look at my post section if you want to know more about that there. Also, there were different types of stitching that were encoded intentionally in some of these rugs. Sometimes they show a date, and sometimes they're just kind of like an artisan's mark to show that if it popped up somewhere in the world, someone with the eye to see it would say, oh, okay, because that trade is in the rug, we can tell that was by this person or this group, okay, which is interesting. Now, some of these knots, again, look at my post section to see the artisans working on these rugs. It's amazing, I find anyway. But some are single knot, some are double knotted, some they call asymmetrical knot. There's all different types of stitching that can be done. Now, what's also interesting is when we get into, is there any merit to there really being flying technology in these rugs? And I say, yeah, there is a possibility, and some things that are recorded, and you've really got to look, because again, a lot of this information that was intentionally wiped out. So, I mean, actually, when I was looking on this subject, unlike other subjects, if I ask the right question, I can really get to a level that I'm happy with in finding things. And you can't just ask the obvious question, because it's going to already, the AI is trained to just give you an answer to try to throw you off the trail. So the more questions you ask and the more clever and creative you get about asking the questions in a nonlinear way, the more you can get some like real answers. So in this case, I wanted to know, well, what are the accounts of what properties, what alchemy really would have gone into making a rug that can levitate? And again, in the Dolores Cannon Convoluted Universe book, they're talking about one of her clients was in a regression. She did what's called QHHT sessions, which is quantum hypnosis healing technique. And in those sessions, she brings people into a deep somnambulistic state where she's dealing directly with the superconscious. So you don't, your regular conscious mind can't go in and try to change, some of the dialogue and whatever. You're just completely out. And so she was starting to reach superconscious. She was starting to, which is like higher self, non-edited, non-filtered information just coming straight from the client as they were in hypnosis. And also she was reaching other stuff, other types of sources, ETs and other things. So anyway, again, in book 4, supposedly the topic of flying carpets comes up as far as being a real technology used in Atlantis. Just saying. So anyway, there's bits and pieces here and there that we can find some things and try to put more clues together of what really happened, what went on. And all that to say, I found this one thing that I did post in my post section that was talking about very real properties that could be used. So already when we look at the geometry of some of these rugs, some of them do have a little bit, especially with the geometric ones, some circuit board leaning type things. I already showed you, the cosmic, kind of patterns. There is sacred geometry here again. And so there is, we already have the geometry and circuit board like makings in some of these things. And something else I was reading, it was really obscure, but it talked about, some of the alchemy put into these rugs to help them levitate was this kind of magnetic clay. So like a geomagnetic clay that was woven in, or I don't know how, if they soaked the threads in it or whatever, that was, woven into the carpet. And that on top of somebody who knew what they were doing in terms of sound and vibration or incantations, kind of, imbued this stuff in the carpet. I could just see how there is a world where the physical things like the clay and, we look at things like copper, other things that could be in the carpet, could be silica, mica, quartz. We know these things hold and conduct and move frequencies. And then when you tie that into a lost technology, like they call the Antiquitech, that really relied on the ethers, why not? Could something be moved combining this? Again, when you put the right elements together in the right way. And the reason why I'm saying all of that too is because we're going to come into the next section on Vimanas, which does get very technical with machine drawings and that kind of technology. And before I even get there, I want to bring more of the science into it, because, you don't need to convince me with science on anything. I'm, intuitive. I know there's a whole divine world and there's healings that we can't even explain that, yes, involve like thermodynamics coming through the hand and healing somebody, and electromagnetics, but it's so much more than that. And once you know all of that's possible, it's kind of like, okay, the science, the nuts and bolts of it, whatever. Do I have to know exactly how big that hex nut is when I'm screwing it on something? No, I could care less, right? I just know it's going to work. And that's relating me to, supposedly there's a hex nut on the top of a helicopter propeller. It's called the Jesus nut that kind of holds it all together. I just remember an aunt gave me, an aunt in the family, she gave me one of these things in a package, and it says the Jesus nut, like all your faith is on this one nut. Now, I don't know if that's still true in today's helicopters and how they work, but that just popped in my mind right now. But what I want to get to is, okay, we'll bring in more of the science and technology base for people who do need to hang on to that a little more than just saying, oh yeah, okay, I believe this kind of metaphysical and, spiritual stuff, right? And before I get into that, it's going to start with, again, I'm just going to say the acronym, each letter, because I don't want to give the name power, but NASA. We're going to be looking at technology and that they've actually named things, magic flying carpet, and not just once, but 3 different times. And they name things with intention and with meaning. They don't just flippantly call things stuff. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But first, I'll just go over to the chat and I'm going to say, welcome, Sarah. Thanks for being here. And actually, both Rita and Sarah had said hi to me and hi to everybody. And Sarah says, happy Leo season. That is right. And she says, interesting. And yes, definitely on some of the comments I was making. And so, yeah, so thank you. And thanks for the reminder about Leo season. And just as another aside, I mean, I'm putting a little bookmark of where we're going to go next on the Magic Flying Carpet Tech and NASA organization being used right now today. But yes, Leo season. This means that actually starting a few days ago, I think, a couple days ago, and going on until about August 12th. I think August 12th, correct me if I'm wrong out there, but there's a solar eclipse happening then. And on 8/8 or August 8th, they call that Lionsgate, where there's specific constellation and other alignments happening. And it's a very potent, powerful time. Now, whether you believe in that or not, there being, some kind of gate and different energies coming in, just, let it go in one ear and out the other. But for those of you that do, and I do, I've been proven out the last 3 years that I'm sorry, my mind's a little foggy here, but the solar eclipse happening, whenever there's been a solar eclipse in the last 3 years, my entire world has been upended. And at the time it felt like crap, but then good stuff did come out of it. So it symbolizes that old tarot card, tower moment, where everything kind of crashes and burns. And it's actually reflecting out in the collective right now in our outer world. When you look at the news, everything seems just a little bit chaotic, doesn't it? Compared to times like pre-2020. But it's a good thing. I firmly believe in saying it's happening for me, not to me, and all is well. So whatever I see in the world with my eyes, my physical eyes, even if it's seemingly like horrific, I say seemingly, it's seemingly adverse, because what we see is an illusion. The truth is what's happening inside the heart and what the heart knows of the reality, the core of the reality. There is this kind of projected thing going on around us. Some call it a simulation. Some call it's the matrix. And at first, I didn't know how I felt about that whole concept. I'm like, I don't like that concept. It's challenging what I know about being on Earth, touching a tree, putting my foot in the water, and I love it. But then when the more that we've been shown and awakened and shown some of these truths now coming to light that we never would have believed before, I'm like, oh, holy crap, it is looking more like a simulation. But that lines up with the whole metaphysical or spiritual thing where, we do project out a certain story and certain things happen in our life. And if you buy into it and believe it is real, you're going to see and get more of that. But if you look at it like zoom out, like an omniscient observer looking down on a game board and saying, okay, I'm not in the game, I'm just observing the game. And okay, yeah, the game very much seems a certain way if you're down in the trenches duking it out. But the game seems totally a different way if you zoom out and go, oh, okay, that piece is doing that and piece is doing that. I'm not in it. So, okay, I can see what's going on, but that doesn't mean it has to be that way. And then more we can kind of zoom out and look at our life that way. Like, okay, ooh, that happened on the news, which I don't watch anymore. But if I happen to, I just say, okay, I don't know if that's real or not, what's going on right now. If it is, God bless, love, and protect everybody involved in that thing, maybe for the good and the highest of everybody. But then, boom, detach from it and just say, I wish them well. God, raise up that situation and move on to the next thing. Because the more that we dwell in some of these scenarios, we don't know the full picture most of the time. Maybe that is what has to happen. So the next thing that comes in can happen and be the good thing on the heels of it. But, we don't know. So to watch something and judge it as good or bad, we're doing things misinformed. So that's why I just say it seems to be adverse, but no, it's happening for me, not to me, and all is well. And I've said it before. Every time I do that, as soon as I remember to say that, what does seemingly look seriously bad or like no hope instantly turns around. I'm talking instantly, either right in the moment or within certainly 5 minutes. I get help out of nowhere. It's happened many times on the road. I'm like, oh crap, I'm in the middle of a heavy intersection, the car's dead. And the moment I'm like, oh, what do I do? And kind of paralyzed, I go, no. And I actually even hold up my finger and I go, no. And I stop myself. It's happening for me, not to me, and all as well. And literally 2 guys with all the equipment I needed come running from the corner. I didn't even see them in my periphery. They saw me and came and helped me. One time, car stopped, and then on each side of me at the same time, a tow truck pulled up on my left, and a nice couple, all dressed to the nines, ready to go out to some gala or something. They even stopped and were ready to get out and help me. And here they were finally dressed. So again, that's the heart connected thing when you just know, okay, I'm trusting you, God, team. guardian angelics, whoever's involved, you're here when I need you, and I really do. And so anyway, I just went off on a nice little side tour, but I think it was important. Oh, and Rita says, indeed, 100% on that. Yeah, it's happening for me, not to me, every single time. The most challenging thing with that is not even if you fully believe it, it's just remembering to say it. And you don't have to say it out loud if you're in a place where you don't want people to think you're crazy, you're mumbling something. You can just say it internal dialogue. Nope. Okay. And then it happens. You get the help. So to me, when I know that kind of divine magic is possible, I look extra carefully on this, flying carpet theme. We all have it deep in our memory. I think maybe Dolores Cannon's client was onto something when they said, yeah, this was just normal tech available in Atlanta. I keep saying it wrong, in Atlantis times. And so there's just a tech. And I think, hey, we might get back into it. Why not have a personal, how cool would that be? Just step on a carpet and fly wherever you want to go. We're kind of close. We've got those hoverboards and things, right? And those, I think, also are born of, everybody's kind of fascination with, oh, what if we could just hover on something? And that's all tech needed or used before you become a master level, like knowing you don't even need the board, right? All right. So anyway, let's get back to my topic. But we'll look now at NASA. I think you know the organization I'm talking about. Again, I just don't want to give it power, charge it up by saying the name. But actually, they have tech that they are calling flying magic carpets. And I did post this in my post section. So I'm going to invite you to go look over there because I don't want to repeat or read too much, of all of it. But I'll give you the basic gist and you can go look there for more detail. But I was looking at an article, and this is all legit. This is coming from them. So as legit as that will be, right? Because people joke about the acronym meaning never a straight answer. I tend to agree, or it's always like a misleading answer. But anyway, they have three. I have 3 points of where they refer to or use the magic flying carpet names in their tech that they're using. So the one is they have some kind of space solar power initiative, they call it, where they're harvesting solar power. This is like a prototype or something they're working on, supposedly. And then whenever they say that, they probably already have the tech already activated. But anyway, this is supposedly harvesting solar power and then beaming it wirelessly back to Earth, they say. Now, I glanced through this. So again, look at my post section, the details in the article there. But apparently there's some kind of material, I'll just say, because I didn't read it closely enough, that can unfold once it's out in space. And then it's like rafting up these big squares together, and then it becomes this thing. So they refer to that in the article as magic flying carpet technology. So it's like making like a bunch of rugs and racking them up together to make a huge carpet. And that's kind of the tech. But again, that's the dummy down version. Go look at the article. Then they apparently are using it in a neurolab application, which they are calling magic carpet. And they're saying that it's magic carpet hardware and that somehow there is, let me get this right, it's a cross shape with two axes rotating somehow. And it's used as a tracking device in some application, tracking something to do with life sciences. Okay. And then there's a third touch using the phrase magic carpet, which I think is a lot for this organization. And they call it the magic, what do they call it? Hang on. They refer to it something with the magic carpet because the Mars rover, the planet Mars, the rover they had up there, did something and disturbed the Earth and the Earth of Mars, anyway, the ground, let's just say, disturbed a patch of the land on Mars in a certain way, and I guess it made a mark, and they call that the magic carpet. Now, I think there's a story there, but I was just, again, glancing through some of this stuff. So if that interests you, you might want to dig deeper on that. Okay, so now I think we'll get into, but anyway, that just shows very real tech that they are applying an idea of a magic carpet in a certain way. And again, when they choose certain words, it has a lot of meaning and it means something when they do it, of significance, something to watch out for. Okay, now we're going to get into Vimanas, the Vimanas part of the show. I'm going to give you a little preview, hold this up, and then I'll take it down and hold it back up again. But we're going to be looking at flying machines from 4,000 years ago, okay? And we're going to get into this. But before we do, I just want to say what I'm going to show you There is talk of flying machines or UFOs in some ancient texts, in this case in Hindu and Sanskrit. So one famous text, which I have not read through, I've just seen excerpts and they seem like, oh, okay, that seems plausible to me. One is called I'm going to say it wrong. Gosh, I'm all tongue-tied today as it is. So the Mahabharata, something is stopping me from saying it. Usually it flows right out of my mouth. But the Mahabharata, okay, is a text, and they do talk about UFOs in there. And then there's the Pushpaka Vimana. So I have no idea what that one's about, but I'm just listing them here in case it interests you. And supposedly in there, it does talk about Vimanas. Now, Vimanas, by definition, I'll just read what I could find. It says that they are referred to as flying chariots, flying palaces, or flying vehicles described in Hindu and Sanskrit epics. It also refers to the soaring architectural structure above the traditional Hindu temple. So a lot of times you'll see this conical form, and they're saying that refers to that as well. And actually, now that they're bringing that up, this kind of dawned on me the other day, and kind of ties into my reference about those Freemason movies that Disney did, the National Treasure 1 and 2. But anyway, looking at a dollar bill, okay, I'm based in the U.S. Some of the people might not really have seen it. Maybe you have. But that's $1 bill in circulation here, an example, okay? Now, to me, when I was looking at the dollar bill, we all know about the pyramid and the all-seeing eye, okay? But to me, it's more than a pyramid and an all-seeing eye. This is a truncated pyramid, or alluding to a ziggurat, which I believe, yes, were used out in the deserts, were used out in like former Babylon, which is now, 40 miles south of Baghdad in Iraq, but like as a spaceport, and that this illuminated eye is actually a capsule or something that takes up, goes up and down is the UFO part. And this is the landing pad. And I'm just saying that because look at, it's all shining. And then, yeah, they say it's an all-seeing eye, but to me, what is the eye shape? The eye shape is like a saucer. And the eye could be like the power of powering it up and down. So that just occurred to me the other day. I know I've probably read about that somewhere too, but it just clicked for me that that's what's going on. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because these Vimanas have that shape. So here's, where it's a whole flying palace. Let me see. Okay. Here's somebody put it into AI, it shows like more of a capsule type thing. And then here's some of the drawings that are coming from, let's see, a text. I got to step back a minute. Those drawings, we're going to get into these technical drawings. They're smattered throughout on my sheet here. Again, sorry, everything's mirrored. I always get it screwed up, especially today. I don't know why. But here's some technical drawings of these Vimanas of different shapes and sizes, okay? And what I want to say is that these are coming from a channeled text from early 1900s, so like 1920, 23, somewhere around there. Somebody was channeling information from somewhere else and channeled in a lot of facts about these Vimanas, including technical diagrams and drawings. So you might want to look into that. And the name of that text is the Vaimanika Shastra. And so here, I have it here. It's easier for you to read it here if you want to write it down. Here it is, the Vaimanika Shastra, okay? So they're showing all of these diagrams. Now, some people are arguing, hey, they don't really work if you go to build them. I don't know. I haven't tested it out, but I'm sure there are clues in some of these things. And then we get into this down here. There's a YouTube channel. I put this in my post section by a gentleman. His name is Praveen. Here we go. Where is it? Praveen Mohan. And in 2019, he went to this place in India called Tirumalai. And he found this right here, a diagram on a cave wall. And he was equating that to looking something like this, like a blueprint for UFO tech. And then this was in there too. And look how much like a circuit board it looks like. It's got the old-fashioned spiral, which in a lot of pictographs means portal or interdimensional capability. He, in the video that I posted in my post section, also shows you looking up at a cathedral or a dome. And actually the spokes of this thing look exactly like the CERN technology. So absolutely, this is talking about some kind of disk, whether it's a UFO or CERN technology to teleport. So anyway, for what it's worth, I just wanted to bring this stuff up because it relates to flying machines. These are, talking about going back 4,000 years, references. And then what do we say? The carpet, I just started the show with the very beginning one shows that there was a carpet present 2,500 years ago, right? Let's see. Oh, and anyway, I also wanted to show that this image, whoever did this on the AI, kind of referencing these flying palaces. This one very much reminds me of the Glocken tech that the Nazis from Germany in the wartime created, an anti-gravitational device, meaning like a flying bell. So die Glocken actually means, the bell. And that's the shape of these flying craft. So actually, oh yeah, this guy, Praveen, was talking about in his video that as he was looking at this and exploring this cave where this existed, there were other frescoes or things painted on not frescoes, but things painted on the cave ceiling surface, which were chipped away and completely like vandalized on purpose. So supposedly around in World War II in the 40s, maybe 30s, supposedly the British Army came through, or probably their elite squads or whatever, and destroyed some of these charts and maps, because saying that, well, we've got to destroy them because the Nazis of Germany are coming and looking for these maps and artifacts to actually make, some of this tech. And that was one of those things that the leader of the Nazis, that begins with an H, that supposedly he was fascinated with finding these really esoteric things, these mystical things, and, like entrances to inner earth and whatnot. So anyway, very interesting. That's a whole nother topic. But again, this might be something you've never heard of, the Vimanas, and you might want to check out any of the things that I was talking about there. Now, let's get to in art, okay? In medieval art, we're talking 1350. We're talking the beginning of, or not beginning, but in the 1400s. We have frescoes. We have famous frescoes. We have frescoes that are in the Florence's Palazzo Vecchio. And we have frescoes in a monastery that are showing what look very much like UFOs, or personal, I call it personal cosmic craft. So some of you may be familiar with having seen these. Now, these belong to a scene over here, and this is from 1350. And I'm just going to read it here for a minute. The Vysoky Dikani Monastery in 1350. And they're attributing it to an unknown Byzantine-style artist. But to me, when I first saw these, without knowing when or where or what, right away I thought of Giotto. So if you know the artist Giotto, he was famous for using these blue backgrounds. But they're saying, no, it's not Giotto. It's an unknown Byzantine-style artist. So again, take it, for what you will. Now here, if you look in the background, we got Jesus on the cross, and then we got a craft over here and a craft over here. From a distance, you might think, oh, that looks like a comet or whatever, a star or something. But when you zoom in, that's this one. This one is over here. Look what we got. We got personal craft. They're looking, looking in different directions, but there's presumably a control panel in front of them, right? And there you go. So that is supposedly, they're saying, it's from 1350. Then we have another scene here. And hold on, I got to move to read it with you. Sorry about this waviness. I'm really off tonight. But this is the Madonna with Saint Giovannino, or Saint John. It really means Saint Johnny. And it's attributed to the circle or the atelier of Domenico Ghirlandaio in the 15th century or 1400s. And that's the one that's in Florence's Palazzo Vecchio. Well, for this artwork to be in the Palazzo Vecchio, which means old palace, but like their art museum with their treasures there, that's just not going to be haphazardly there if there's not some significance to it. Now, what's interesting about this one is the guy on the shore. It's very interesting in these paintings to look at where the bystanders are looking and what they're doing. So he gets cut off here, but there's a man standing behind the Madonna, and he has his hand, over his brow. He's looking out and looking up at this thing. And he's down here looking up at this thing, and then they're showing a close-up. So yeah, that looks very much like a UFO or craft to me. Now, some scholars will try to dismiss it because they don't want to admit they're UFOs, and they're saying that's some kind of effect from an angel. Yeah, I'm not buying it. That does not look like an effect from an angel. Usually an angel is going to be humanoid with, a halo around or completely illuminated. All right, then we get down to these things. So these things are kind of handheld size. and these sculptures. And somebody did a drawing to show what's going on with the sculpture. I'm not sure where this one comes from, but there's some that come from Peru, I think from like the Andes even, that are very much, they look like little rockets or things with wings that fly. So I think, if we really look here and there, we can start to put a picture together, proving that, yes, there were flying machines. These people back then aren't just making this stuff up. There's some merit to it and there's some basis to it. Let's see. So I think I covered, oh, yeah, that's that. Now we'll go into some, make it a little lighter, go into some things that are happening now, maybe some pop culture stuff. And sorry, let me just check here. Yeah. Okay. So going back a step to the flying carpets, I was like, well, I started talking about something and I left it in the air, pun intended. So we talk about flying carpets, and I started doing my search like I do, like always, on these weekly things. And usually, if I creatively ask questions, I really get to some interesting material on some of these topics. Well, this was a glaring kind of contrast. When I started to research this flying carpet thing, there's like precious nothing. Usually there's something with a little bit of teeth to it when I research. And I'm like, okay, if I follow that thread and pull that thread, and again, pun intended with the carpets, I'm going to get down to here. I'm going to find some stuff. I'll go over here. In this case, I did all my usual, things of searching. And it was just like, wow, we got nothing. We got nothing. We got nothing. Even when it gets down to not only looking at the text and what's written about a thing, it's also when you look up the images. So usually there's more images or ways to find interesting images. In this one, it was like very, very little. So again, that's a little warning flag to me. That's kind of like a red flag, but in a good way. Again, it's happening for me, not to me. The very sheer absence of material that I should have seen, even talking about flying carpets as folklore, even if we don't want to get into them as a real thing, precious little, shockingly little, which shows me there's a there to this whole subject. So anyhow, also, kind viewer here to there brought to my awareness that when you look at the whole Harry Potter arc, and again, I'm not a huge fan there, but there are tells and hint drops in every, kind of movie and literature, whatever out there. They talk about all the magical stuff, right? It's a wizard school, for God's sakes. It's all about wizardry. And yet there's precious little about flying carpets. In fact, they don't show them, which you think they would. And there's one I posted in my post section. There's somebody did an excerpt from the movie. So I guess, what is it? The uncle or whoever traps Harry Potter at the home, poor kid, makes fun, mocks. He mocks the idea of flying carpets, because if you know anything, just the basics about the Harry Potter thing, the kids, they get an invite to go to this magical wizard school at Hogwarts, and to get there, they take a train, and they have to go to a real life, train platform, but the train is kind of supernatural. But anyway, they have to take an old fashioned train. Well, it's arguable then why didn't they use flying carpets or something? I mean, they're wizards, going to wizard school. And so this uncle mocks Harry, the lead character, Harry Potter, and says, oh, what are there like, I'm going to say it wrong, but what are there like holes in all the magic carpets? You guys aren't going to take a magic flying carpet to the school? He's making fun, and you're just taking a regular train. So it just seems like, there is some kind of reason why maybe they weren't making that a prominent thing in the movie. Now, there are other things, cartoons out there. This one, I happen to still have the DVD. This is, I don't know if you're familiar with this cartoon series. It's called the Backyardigans. And this one has these characters. And actually, they kind of bothered me at first. I did get into the series because we had a little one at the time in the house. And the series bothered me a little bit because they were seriously like 3D animation characters. We stepped away from like the 2D cartoons. For any of you with kids, like the old-fashioned Clifford, that was kind of more 2D, that was still out at this time. And this became very much where you could see it was computerized, kind of CGI'd stuff. And I didn't really like the feel of it at the time. I still have mixed feelings about it. But anyway, there was one episode here called The Movers of Arabia. And so these characters, and if you know it, this is Tyrone, Austin, Pablo, and Uniqua. And they are on a flying carpet. And they've got to move the treasures of Sultan Tyrone from a cave out in the middle of the desert to his palace. So anyway, that's just for anybody who wants to see flying carpet references in there. Okay. And then I think, yeah, and I did already talk about there's some movies, from the 1950s. Obviously, that was like the heyday of showing the Arabian Nights and all of this, and like Lawrence, what was it, Lawrence of Arabia and all of that. So I think that's all I have for now. Hopefully that gave you enough of a smattering of things to check out. Sorry, I'm a little scattered today. I don't know. I think it's in the air, talking about ethers and things, moving carpets. I'm a little like all over the place, a little more than usual with these things. So unless anybody has anything else to say in chat, I will go ahead, whether I'm not totally feeling it, but I might as well do it. I shuffled 3 different card decks, and some I've shown before, some I haven't. And I do have 3 piles. And so if for anyone that likes Oracle cards or could use a little message, these are just done for the collective. It's nothing too deep. It's just maybe there's a word here or there, a phrase or something that is something good to hear for right now. And if not, like I say, take it or toss it. Doesn't matter to me. So what I'll do is if anybody wants to play along here, I've got a few different Oracle decks. So what I'll do is I'm just going to say a number and see if it clicks with you. And if you're still not getting anything, I'll hold up a crystal and read those off and see if it applies to you. And you can pick 1, 2, group 1, 2, or 3, or 2 of them, all of them, whatever you want, or just listen to all and just see if anything clicks. Okay. So again, when I say 1, 2, or 3, that's going to be your group. And Sarah, thanks. She says, thank you, Varleigh. Magic carpets. Okay, so if none of the numbers popped up for you, group 1 is going to be this yellow jasper. Kind of looks like a mustard color. Does look kind of like a chunk of mustard, but it's just like a yellow, looks like yellow ochre. Jasper. Actually, it looks like one of those Vimanas when I hold it like that, right? Okay, that's group 1. And then group 2 by the crystals, if the numbers weren't doing it for you, is, what is this? Amazonite. So that's a piece of, it's hard to tell, sorry about the glare. Amazonite. It's a beautiful blue, light blue in there. Okay, so that's Amazonite is group 2. And then group 3 is red jasper. And it just looks like a chunk of rusty kind of colored stuff. But there we go. Okay. All right, so 1, 2, or 3, yellow jasper, Amazonite, or red jasper. So here we go. We're going to take a look at the first deck. Comes from the Wisdom of Hafiz, and actually your group, for your group, 4 cards wanted to come out, and that's the back of it. So I chose this deck because that's reminding me a bit, the Oriental flair and a bit of a magic carpet in and of itself. So I'm just going to hold these up independently, and then I'll just read it all together. Again, I don't have like the proper camera view set up where you can see them as I talk about it. So I'm going to have to show you, take it off camera, and just tell you what I think, and then see what you get. I'm going to hold it up slowly to see if you get any hits or feelings, if it invokes anything in you. So we're going to go with, here, I'll just hold them up and start talking about it. So we have, the first card up is 25, or number 7, Study to Know Yourself. And there she is. So as I always say, you can see why I picked this to go along with the whole flying carpet thing. And we've got blue skies, the sun, kind of golden details. And it's almost like she's sitting like in the womb of the earth. She's totally protected. That's the ultimate in earthing. Study to know yourself. And then I'm going to do them individually, and we'll come back together and put it all together. And then this is a beautiful little card. It is 26, or number 8, Keep the Faith. And we've got this beautiful, looks like a juvenile elephant, just going out from the safety and protection of the woods, just out into the open, just following blindly this gorgeous butterfly. And it actually has given me ideas, reminding me of like the flying carpet thing, right? The interesting patterns, in the butterfly too. Okay. Then we have this one is 15, or number 6, Pause for Reflection. That's an interesting card, like a lotus moon face or something. Okay, pause for reflection. And then we have, I think it's number 8. Yes, Kindle Love. And so we have a beautiful scene here. Again, we've got kind of like that pattern of the carpet in the background. It's evoking that. And they're up in the clouds. So it's almost like they've taken their magic carpet right already up above the clouds so they can get away and steal a kiss, right? Oh, Rita says beautiful. Rita. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to just kind of recap for myself and for you. So we've got Study to Know Yourself, Keep the Faith, Pause for Reflection, and Kindle Love. And this is just really soft, beautiful energies saying, really, just take that time and pause to do you, right? Like just really go introspective, kind of take a step out of the world, and I can never hold these up properly. So if I can't, I'm just going to get them down to talk. But here's just like a reminder of what we were visiting. I don't do this all the time, as you can tell. So, but whatever the case, here, let me try to, but just as a reminder. So maybe if I just here, I'll do them like this. So anyway, she's down there. She's in the womb of the earth. She's just totally earthing and chilling out and retreating and being comfortable in her own world and getting to know herself much, much better because she's tuning out the noise, of the outside. And with that, she's just, trusting that by doing that, she will be led in the right direction in a very divine way. And she may not see it, but what she is seeing is what makes her tick and what lights her up or what doesn't. And then from there, she can go out into the world when she's ready and trust that there's always going to be that unseen, sometimes seen, divine thread that will show her the way, that will lead the way. Now, this one, I'm going to put it down for a minute because I am not gifted at holding these up in reverse. It just throws me too much. I don't know why it shouldn't, but again, especially today, I'm off. I'm going to own it. I'm off today. But anyway, so here we go. Pause for reflection again. She was, I'm sorry about the glare too. She was pausing for reflection earlier. She was in the womb of the earth doing it and feeling very comfortable. And now a pause for reflection to me is showing that was when the sun, sky was sunny and maybe the birds were singing, the sky was blue. Here, it's very different when you pause for reflection in the night when like nothing is going on. It's like dead quiet. You are left with you alone, and there's a different kind of intensity to knowing yourself in the evening, in the wee hours, than in the daytime when things are chirping and whatever. Oh, thanks. Sarah had said beautiful. Rita said beautiful. Sarah T said beautiful spread of cards. Beautiful message. Thank you, Varleigh. Thank you guys for giving me some feedback. And Sarah's saying the glare is the magic carpet energy, moving light. Thanks. Thank you for reframing this to a positive. Yeah, I'm also not helping this situation. Usually I know how to get rid of the glare, but I am not. I don't know why I'm off. I'm off in speech and off in holding these up. So I must get a pass today, hopefully, with you guys. Okay, so anyway, things look a lot different when you're looking at yourself at night sometimes than in the daytime. That's when sometimes like that stinking thinking comes through, especially if you're going through weird energies like that are happening lately, especially like last night. I got a wave of weird energies coming in, starting to question everything, starting to doubt things. Something else was coming in to try to do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to feel it and let it go and then say, nope, no more. But anyway, my point is, really knowing yourself in the wee hours too can look a lot different when it's dark than when it's just light. And then we have this one. So, oh, wrong one. I told you I am like reversed today in myself, so it's not lining up. But then we have Kindle Love. So once you get to know yourself and have all this time of reflection and seeing yourself in all different kinds of light, like Sarah's talking about moving light, then you can bring it all together and just know that we need to treat ourselves with full love so that we can then bring that out in the world to others, right? And so anyway, it's all good. I probably spent a long, convoluted way of explaining all of that, but essentially it is, when we know ourselves and are true to ourselves, then the world becomes so much richer around us. Okay, now for anybody who wanted group 2, this is coming from a beautiful deck. It's, I think, an Alana Fairchild deck. Hold on. Oh, no, it is not. It is this deck, though. Reminds me of another one by her. So this is coming from Sufi Wisdom Oracle. And this is the back. So again, I chose this deck because it reminds me of the magic carpets, obviously. I think so anyway. And these I'm going to do one at a time, and then we'll do all together. So the first card up was Speak Out, Communicate, and Solve the Conflicts. And look at that. She's got that green energy, again, of the green carpet. The whole thing that kicked this off was that Queen of Sheba sent a green silk carpet to King Solomon, supposedly, right? So we've got this kind of angelic, and also, so we've got like this meeting of the divine with the folklore and the flying carpet energy. But whatever the case, it's saying speak out, communicate, and solve the conflicts. But it doesn't look like she's stressed about it. This person's very chill about it. So I don't think it's not speaking out in a way that you need to exude force. It's just kind of speaking out in a way that communicates it, and then you can just kind of drop it. And that's echoed here with surrender with joy. Achieve greatness through surrender. So once you've spoken out, you can just let it go because it's actually out of your body. It won't stay trapped and be manifesting any illnesses in your body. If it's something not great, you just let it out. be matter of fact about it. Doesn't have to be with any like vindictive energies. It doesn't have to be with extra excessive loving energies. Just say it matter of fact, get it out. That's kind of the energy I saw in her. She's just like, whatever, zero, you know what's given. I'm just laying it out. Not good, not bad. Just get it out of me. And so we surrender with joy, achieve greatness through that. So here you can fly. You know, you drop that baggage that you let out of your mouth. You drop the baggage, and now you're free to fly. And then we have a beautiful thing right after it. Time to play. Make time to dance and play. And you're not going to be dancing around if you're holding like 500-pound weights on each arm, right? So you speak out the verbal baggage, you know, and just say it matter of fact. It's neither here nor there. Doesn't bother you. You let it go. And so she's already flying. And then you're not only flying, but you're laughing and giggling as you're flying, right? So that's a very happy message for group number 2. Let it go and have some fun. And then group 3, again, was this red jasper. Now this one comes from a deck that I've included before, and I am going to read it, just not the whole thing, but I'm going to read a bit because this deck challenges me the most. Now I'm doing this one again because, again, it reminds me of a flying carpet. And for any of you who guessed it, yes, it is. It's this Wild Kuan Yin oracle. And a lot of it, you know, it's captured the spirit. She's flying. So obviously I wanted to include this with the flying carpet thing. But some of these messages are very, what do I want to say? They're a little more challenging to get off of just looking at the images. It's like a mix. Some are easy and fine. Some are a little more deep. And I like to know her perspective on it because she writes the guidebooks. The writings in there are done so well. So here we go. This one, 3 cards came out. Oh, and Sarah says clear mind, and Rita says another beautiful deck. Thank you. And thank you. I'm glad you like them too. So the artwork on here is really beautiful. So again, this is Wild Kuan Yin, and she's kind of like a Mother Mary figure, an ascended master. And I'm sure some of you may know more about her than I do. I really don't have a strong connection to her, but I just found this deck really beautiful. So here this girl is. She's riding this like flying bison. And then she's not too far off the ground. 44 or number 8, Wild Red Rider, Blessing Bestowed. How beautiful is that? Got a hint of like a bluebell or something there in the corner at the bottom. There's a bit of water energy, and she could not be happier, I think. She's having a good time. And so that is the first card up. The second card says, number 9, Remember Me, the Divine Mother Within. That's beautiful too. That one I'm going to read from the book in a second. And then the third card is, again, like group 2, we got the last card up is Play. Play with me, number 15 or 6, Play Energy. And the interesting thing is that here we have, I would say, like a youth, a younger, I'm going to do it again backwards, sorry, a younger girl. And she's just like wild and not reckless in a dangerous way, but just, you know, throwing all caution to the wind, literally just having a good time, not getting caught up and worrying about a thing. She's very much just so happy in the moment, right? And that's play energy and like daring to dream. She's in red, you know, nothing's holding her back. She's just going forward with confidence. And then this one's a little more subdued and represents maybe now she's older and wiser. And the play, it looks different, but it's still play nonetheless, right? Different energies there. So anyway, let's go now and read this one. I'll hold it up one more time for reference. The Remember Me, the Divine Mother Within. And this is going to be very specific for some of you out there. I know I could use this message right now when I did a little preview because it's very touching. And actually, I think I'm going to try to hold it up here. And as I've said before, the guidebook is black and white. Let me see if it works, because it might work better. I'm going to try this, guys. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to take it off camera. I'm going to see if I can read it and hold still enough. I believe in you. I will never leave you. I will never abandon you. I see the truth of you, and I know you are worthy. No matter how strong and grown up you become, or how vulnerable and small you may feel, I love you, my own wild child divine. Trust in me, the Divine Mother within you, to guide, comfort, and nurture you into the beautiful fullness of your divine destiny. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. And I also want to read a little bit more. And Sarah says, the play energetic feels very Leo energy, inner child expression through the body. You know what? You're right. Even though it's showing a bison, it does very much have a lion energy to me too. Okay, we're going to read the guidance. And again, sorry if I move around a bit, but it's what I can do for now. Okay, this is, sometimes we can feel alone, not quite sure where or to whom we may truly belong. Frightened and insecure, we imagine dark happenings. Hold on. Or feel consumed with anxiety and doubt. Or perhaps we struggle to, sorry guys, I don't know if I can do it this way. Struggle to, no, that's not going to work. Let me do it this way with my camera. I tried. Oh, Sarah says, thanks for reading. Yeah, I would feel better if I could read better for you guys. I'm just going to have to do it off camera again. I was trying that way, but I'm too shaky today. Are you guys feeling jittery and crazy like I am today? This is not normally me. So I know if I take a look at the Schumann resonance chart, it's probably doing a huge white blast right now, or I'm just on residuals of it or something, or feeling it coming. This is crazy. So again, thank you for all of you for your patience and giving me a pass on this one today. This is a wild, weird show for me. All right, so let me read this again. So the guidance on this with remember me, the divine mother within. Sometimes we can feel alone, not quite sure where or to whom we may truly belong. Frightened and insecure, we imagine dark happenings or feel consumed with anxiety and doubt. Or perhaps we struggle to feel our feelings and instead have symptoms of the feelings we cannot quite find another way to express. We cannot sleep. We cannot unwind and relax. We cannot quite feel safe or secure. These are signs that we are in need of reconnection to the divine mother within. If our human experiences of mothering have been neglectful, critical, controlling, smothering, or demanding of perfection, if they have denied us our brightness and talent, have asked too much or too little of us, or are based on fear of the outside world, then we may well have to trust issues with the idea of being mothered. Yet the Divine Mother has no need to test us, to challenge us, forsake us for another, or judge us in any way. Her need is to mother us. What that means is that she offers us enough sanctuary and unconditional love to feel safe to venture into life, to grow, to take risks, and to truly do our best to live a full and authentic life. I think I'm going to end it right there. So if you're having a mother wound or thought you were through one already and things keep bubbling back up and you're not, welcome to the club. And this is a beautiful book to remind us that even if you have issues with a current worldly mother or one from the past or lack of one, beautiful reminder that there is the divine mother, and that is within each of us as well, whether you're male or female. That's the divine mother, and that nurturing energy, right? Okay. Now, Rita says, oh, thank you, Rita. Thank you so much. I so appreciate all of you. You're beautiful people. Rita says, thank you for sharing with us tonight. I really appreciate you. I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you, Rita. You too, as always. And Sarah says, full moon Aquarius. Energy is still around. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Wasn't that on Thursday? I think I didn't look at it too closely. Yeah, full moons used to really wreck me, so to speak, like the energies would, I don't know, do something crazy. And now it's the sun. So hopefully you guys are having an easy, gentle experience with any of these things and are being able to navigate and move through them okay. And if not, big love and hugs to everybody. Oh, Rita's is very pretty. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it for tonight, everybody. Oh, you know what? Unless somebody wants one more card, it's a quick one. I'll go ahead and do it. And for posterity as I close out the show, and feel free again, if there's anything on your mind you want to bring up, go for it. And if not, know that I'm wishing all of you so much tremendous peace and love out there, and a very happy weekend, a happy right now. All right, so the bonus card for everybody is I just love this one deck. It's the 50 Plants That Heal. And I like to learn about some of these things. I think we had this before, I'm not sure, but it's black currant. So anyone not familiar with what the black currant plant looks like, here we go. Really pretty flowers. Look at those. Look at the star right up by my finger. It's a beautiful star, so that's good energy, right? And then, okay, I'm trying to get the glare out of here. Wow, today the glare is more than usual. I got to change my setup. Look at the leaves, are really pretty. And the little buds and blossoms. Yeah, very prettily done with this deck. And then I'll just show the other side, and we'll just see if there's anything that wants to jump out on it. But black currant, Let's see. It grows about 3¼ feet high. And let's see. Has a lot of healing properties, as do all of these cards in this deck. So let you just kind of read them. I will say, though, it has a high vitamin C content. And it has other good properties there. It says that as gargles, it can soothe sore throats and mouth ulcers. That's helpful. And other things. Okay. And then as with all of these too, you can make different kinds of, what do you call it? Like infusions, or use the essential oils, or make poultices, depending what the plant is. This says externally, it's for insect bites, that you can crush the leaves and squeeze the juice onto the area, and that pain is drawn out quickly and swelling reabsorbed. I did not know that. That's why I like it, if you guys don't mind me pulling some of these cards, because, you know, I would never know about some of these things. Oh, and yeah, Sarah, you have a sore throat. Oh, good luck with that. Then definitely do some kind of herbal tea. I'm sure would be good. And there's like an old German wives' tale, or, you know, remedy, they call them. You know, back then they call them that. Not a wives' tale. What am I thinking of? There's just, you know, kind of like that old, you know, like mothers or grandmothers, you know, things, remedies that they say. And I remember in Germany, there was one that seemed to work, where you just take a big spoonful of organic honey, and you put a little garlic, a little lemon, and like a pinch of salt. I think that's all that the ingredients were. And just go with the proportions that are guided. And supposedly when you coat your throat with that, you know, you just have a big spoonful of it. It really, you know, does good for the body. But anyway, lots of other things too to do. So yeah, go with your intuition on it. And happy healing. I think you can kick it. Just put it in your mind it's gone. And that tomorrow, or by tomorrow, you wake up refreshed. To wish you well there. Okay. Oh, and Sarah said, you said the moon is still very bright and big in our skies last night. You know, I didn't even step out and get to look at it. It's a crime, but I just didn't. Something else was going on last night. The energies were so nuts, I didn't even see it. And Sarah says, oh, we have all those ingredients. Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah. I just remember seeing somebody do it, actually. Yeah, just get the honey and put the other things in it. But definitely with the coating of the throat, that's always not a bad thing, right? Okay, and then just plenty of rest. Be really extra good to yourself. All right, you all. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. And again, thank you for your being here. And, you know, next week is going to be Lionsgate itself, 8/8. So August 8th. And I want to say that I'll be doing a live, but I'm not sure. I might have to just take a week off. I'll still be posting probably and doing stuff during the week online, but that actual day I might need to step away. But we'll see. You never know. Something may say, oh no, you're doing a show. But until then, and until whenever our paths cross again, I wish you all the best, and just take care, everybody. Bye. Thanks again.